Question number 1, Patrick Harvey.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I ask the Scottish Executive how the draft budget for 2010-11 will support the aim of achieving a significant increase in walking and cycling compared with other transport modes?
Stuart Stevenson.
In 2010-11, the draft budget will continue to support local authorities, Sustrans, Cycling Scotland, Living Streets and other delivery bodies to increase the numbers of people cycling and walking. For example, we will continue working in partnership with the 7 Smarter Choices, Smarter Places communities across Scotland, whose aims are to increase active travel.
Patrick Harvey.
Thank you. For the last 2 years in a row, the Transport and Climate Change Committee has agreed unanimously on the need for a substantial increase in funding if we're going to see more journeys in Scotland being undertaken by active means, walking and cycling, for climate change reasons, for health reasons and a host of other reasons. And yet we continually see reductions in funding for these modes and the government pouring money into the road building projects. How are we to take it as remotely credible that government wants to see a substantial increase in cycling journeys, for example, under the Cycling Action Plan, while again this year we're seeing an overall reduction in funding for active travel?
Sir?
One of the very interesting things, Presiding Officer, was illustrated when I was in Elgin on Sunday, participating to some limited extent in my case in mass cycle rides to raise money for the Grampian Society for the Blind. Murray gets no more money than any other council area and yet delivers 4 times as much cycling in its area as other councils do. I think what this illustrates is that it's a change of approach that may be required by government, by councils, by many people to deliver the improvements. Yes, of course, we need to provide the funding, and the active travel budget will have increased from 33 million to 35.7. But money alone is not enough. We need to think smarter and spend smarter.
Shirley-Ann Somerville.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer. Can I ask the Minister what impact he believes the Climate Challenge Fund has had on encouraging modal shift? Can I draw his attention to the awards given to Greener Leith, Active Leith of 283,000, Recycle Bike in Stirling of 182,000 and Biketown Hundley of 47,000, to name but a few? What effect do funds like these, not included in the active travel budget, have on the Government's wish to increase the number of people cycling in Scotland?
Minister.
Ms Somerville is quite correct to point to the benefits and the impacts that derive from expenditure from government that is outside the active travel budget. And in particular, of course, the Climate Challenge Fund is a fund which draws together interests beyond government in the decision-making process, ensures that the funds are targeted where they will be most effective, and I think the progress made so far is very commendable indeed.
Ms McNulty.
Yes. I took the Minister's point about Murray in his response to Patrick Harvey. It's a bit unfortunate that amongst the cuts in Murray are cuts to the active travel coordinators that have driven the increase in cycling so effectively. But can I ask the Minister, I know he has a high regard for the UK Transport Minister, Lord Adonis, who announced last week that he was going to make £40 million available for, I think, up to 8 cycling transport hubs at major stations. This was taking forward ideas that have been very well developed in Holland, with, in effect, cycle parks at major stations, so people are encouraged to cycle to stations. If there are budget consequentials coming forward as a result of that result, can I encourage the Minister to consider an equivalent approach in Scotland and Scotland's major cities in particular?
Minister.
I do get on very well with and respect much of the activity that Andrew Adonis undertakes. I think he's someone who certainly is on the case. I would make the point in relation to Scotland's stations by illustrating my visit to Attadale Station, a station which has less than 100 passengers a year. And it, in common with every other station across Scotland, has parking space for cycles, a Sheffield rack that is there. So in some ways we may actually be ahead of what is happening south of the border. Perhaps they're playing catch-up.